This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning everyone from a very eerie, spooky-looking Djuma Game Reserve here in South Africa. Yes, this is quarantine, as you may have never seen it before. Another great morning. My name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera today, and of course we always check quarantine when we first come out, and we've probably driven past something because the visibility is so low. Now, of course, we would call this very misty, and mist is essentially tiny little water droplets that are suspended in the atmosphere or the air, very, very close to the Earth's surface, and we are on the Earth's surface. So here we have it. It limits visibility. And is it mist? Is it fog? Well, it all depends on the distance. Fog and mist differ by how far you can see through them. So you would classify it as fog when you can see less than 1,000 meters in front of you, and you would classify it as mist when you can see further than 1,000 meters, but it still affects your visibility. So I think I'm going to go with fog for this one. It's a foggy morning. Lots of moisture in the air. Hopefully it will lift. The other day when Davy and I came out, it didn't lift. It is beautiful. It's actually not too cold. It's 19 degrees Celsius, 66 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not chilly. But Davy's wrapped up nice and warm, so I'm sure he is. So, of course, before I forget, this is live. This is all happening as you see it. Live, interactive, talk to us. Whatever platform you are on, send in your questions and your comments. Hashtag WildEarth if you're on Twitter, and @FC if you are on the YouTube chat stream. Ask us anything you would like to know, and hopefully today we'll find some animals. We have been, well, Djuma has been very, very lucky lately, so I'm hoping that luck does continue. So it's not going to be too easy to find animals in this fog, but I shall do my best. And of course, it's not just me out today. Mr. Hendry is out as well, and he wants to say good morning.
Good morning and welcome. Are we on me? Or no, we're not. Good. There are some impala. I hope you're all well today on this. I don't have no idea what the difference between a misty and what the difference between mist and fog is. I'm assuming mist perhaps comes in off the sea. Foggy or misty or cloudy morning. Wonderful to have you with us. My name is James Henry. On camera is Owen. There is. And you can talk to us using the hashtag WildEarth or the chat stream on YouTube, or indeed on Twitch. Here we have got a herd of impalas who are very relieved to have survived the night, unscathed, untoothed by predator and unclawed. And every so often you just hear the rams going like baboons, as they herd their ladies into order. Hello, Tamara. You say you were craving the bush and therefore decided to join the safari. Well, it's great to have you with us. And I'm so pleased that you were able to derive some wilderness joy from being with us this morning. Now the ram has chased all of his ladies into a bush. I'm quite sure he has no idea what to do with them once they're there. They seem to spend these 2 months of April and May doing their best to get away from the impala rams. And who wouldn't? For those of you who don't know, the impala rut is really quite a carnival of impala behavior, where the rams spend 2 months basically herding the females into little groups and trying desperately to keep them within their postage stamp sized territories. I normally can't say postage size stamped You see, I couldn't do it there. Postage stamp-sized territories. And it's just... it's so funny to watch because they're so desperate and they're so kind of uncharacteristic when you see them in the rest of during the rest of the year. We're going to head on towards the hyena den over here. Nikki has already got a hyena for you up at Ngala.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. With me today is Marcel behind the camera. He's always there. We just found, as we were driving up, we are going to go look out for a leopard. But this morning, on our way there, we've already found a hyena. So I'm just going to move closer because this hyena is moving away from us, basically on the road. I'm just going to stop like this so everyone can see. Now the area we want to go for to look out for this leopard is, so there were carcasses yesterday and one was hidden on the ground. And this hyena is literally walking straight in that direction. And the wind is blowing from the hyena towards us. So I think this hyena might have smelled that carcass, and now it's on its way in that direction. There's also some water not too far. Might have even gone for a drink. But let's try and keep up with this hyena. Often whenever we follow a hyena, it's such a good indication of where the other predators could be. Like if there's lions around, if there's any lions or maybe wild dogs, even leopard, they're often the ones that will go and join up with the scene. Just to wait for a few scraps that might fall out of the tree if there's a leopard, or maybe the wild dogs, if they leave something behind, the hyenas will grab it and then run off. Just want to quickly stop. It sounded like baboons that might have alarm called. Just listen to that. So it's amazing because often when baboons call like that, it might be they've woken up. They could have seen this hyena, but there's always a chance they might have seen that leopard that we're looking out for. And what we're hoping for is there were 2 impala carcasses from yesterday, and we're hoping that there's a mother leopard with her 2 youngsters that might have gone back to that leopard. Because often there is, within this area that we're driving in now, there's a female called the Shitsalala female. Now Shitsalala means bushveld gardenia. So that's a beautiful white, a tree with a beautiful white flower that looks like a saucer. And she was named after that because of the area, of course, where she is. There's quite a few of those trees. But she often, whenever she catches anything, she will go and stash it under like a quite dense area. You can see the hyena is cut off, but it's quite far from where we need to go for that impala carcass, see if the leopard is there. So what we're going to do is let's carry on, go and see if we can find that carcass and hopefully find that leopard this morning. Let's hold our thumbs or cross our fingers and hope for the best. You can hear after this baboon's alarm call, this hyena went straight into that direction. So probably hoping that there's another predator around that might have made a kill. And seeing if he can get some scraps. Wow, there's such a beautiful tree here. I just wanted to point it out. I just wanted to point out, so you'll have a look at this beautiful tree. If we can, Marcel, try and zoom into the bark, you'll notice that it has quite a fluted bark. And then like quite a few thorns at the end of the branch. It is hard to see because of the light, but this tree is called a greenthorn, or the other one is called a torchwood because the fruits of it looks like these small oval shaped fruits. And what you can do with them is if you light them, it actually burns as a torch, hence the name the torchwood. But for now, while we are going to be heading across to look for that leopard, let's head across to Lauren for an update.
We have a little family here walking along the road. I think we have Mum, Dad, and I don't know how many youngster crested francolins. Okay, 1 youngster, 2, 3, 4. Now I remember seeing, I think we have 4 youngsters, 2 adults, and they're getting big. Look at them. They are not small little chicks anymore. They are fat little chicks that are growing very quickly. It's very sweet. They just walk along the road. We've turned our engine off. We've had it off for quite some time. And therefore, they're quite relaxed. Francolins are notorious for getting themselves caught up in a tizzy. They panic. They panic like no other. And once one panics, they all panic. And before you know it, you've got a group of francolins panicking in front of you. Now, the males are bigger than the females when it comes to adults. So I think by looking at this, the one on the right is the male and the one on the left, oh no, they've just swapped positions. Vicky, they are adorable, aren't they? They're so sweet. Now, the male has spurs on the back of his legs and the females don't, but I am not sure when they're moving about like this. Oh. Yes, that's the male. I can see the spurs right at the back of the leg. But it's not easy to tell the difference between male and female. Twitter. Critter Freak. Ah, nice name. You're saying they have such beautiful markings. They do, don't they? I often think it looks like they bought some white eyeliner and, well, they've just went a little bit overboard with it. I used to wear white eyeliner back in the day too. Yes, I'm not very proud of that. We shall not talk about that. But they are ground birds and they feed on the ground, so they eat things like bulbs and seeds and berries and all sorts of things that are on the ground. Okay, so I'm bumbling south. Goodbye, little family, and we're going to send you guys across to James, who's bumbling.
We're at the hyena den, and nothing is going on here except the gentle flitting about of a chin-spotted Batiste, who we cannot see, unfortunately. I'm going to stop, and we're just going to have a quick look at the den entrance, just to see if there isn't some sign of fresh activity. I think it looks to me like there has been, and I say that because the area outside the den, immediately outside the den, is dry, while the slopes of Mount Djuma Clan are in fact wet. So I think there have been hyenas here. I think we might have to come back a bit later. It's normally at dawn and at dusk that the feeding takes place. I don't think she's moved the den, everyone. We did have one hyena here last night, came through. You were watching that magnificent leopard in a kill, or on a kill at Ngala, and so you didn't come and see him because he just came wandering through and disappeared. So I don't think she's moved the den. We did check the other 2 dens in the vicinity yesterday afternoon, just in case, but we didn't come up with anything. So I suspect she'll come back. I don't think we'll wait for her, though, because that could be a frustrating process. Let's just listen to the dawn chorus briefly. So it's quite subtle this morning, but what you can hear, that chip, 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 is the chin spot batters. And it's actually just behind us there, Owen. Can you get him? He's sitting on the spike thorn tree. That's Mrs. Chin Spot Batters with her chin spot. Yeah, you might just be able to get a shot of her there. She's behind some thick leaves. And then there's the crested barbet and his alarm call. Many of you will. That's actually Mr. Oh, and now he's flown off. He's flown off.
Yeah, had it for a second.
We had it for a second. Hornbills going in the background. Stunning misty morning. Black crown chagra. That's the chin spot batters. Kayla, she'd move her cubs to just another den close by, probably. Maybe not so close by. Once they're mobile, she could move them quite far, but it'll be another den in the territory. We've checked a couple of the dens up towards the north of the reserve that the clan has used before, and they are completely unoccupied. Grass has grown over entrances that once looked like this. And so I think currently they're going to centralize on dens in this area, but who knows? She will eventually move them. I don't think she's done that yet. When we drive out of here, we'll drive past the other known den site in this place. No, Stefan, at this stage we've got no idea where Hart might have her cubs stashed. Like I say, we've checked the dens to the north, most of them. This one, we checked the one on the southeast boundary, known as Gwen's Den, the one where we drove the rover in, for those of you who remember that. And there's no activity there. Remember that the Djuma clan's territory extends beyond Djuma. It goes down onto Chitwa, Little Gowrie, which are the reserves to the south and east of us, Torchwood, which is east of us, possibly even into Buffelshoek to the north of us. So, you know, if it's not on Djuma, it's most likely, I would say, to the south of us, given where we found the clan yesterday. We will check up on the grebe's nest during the course of the day, probably towards the end of drive though, when the light is brighter and they're moving around a bit. We'll also check out on our stick-playing hippopotamus. And for those of you who missed it, there was a concerned email sent through about the necessity of bringing in a veterinarian, because didn't we know that that hippo had a stick stuck in his mouth? Which I thought was quite amusing. Let's go back to Ngala now, where Nikki is still driving towards the Tamboti Tom.
So we had a look at the one impala carcass that was stashed under the bush, but we didn't see anything there. So we're going to go to the one that was hoisted up in the tree from yesterday and see if there's maybe any predator there. I just wanted to quickly stop, have a look at the sunrise right in front of us. It is so beautiful this morning. And you can just hear all the birds calling. Like, they often ask me what's my favorite game drive of all time, and I always just say the next one, because every single day you get out here, it's something extraordinary, something new, and you just never know what you're going to see. But I think for now, let's slowly head. We are literally heading in the direction of the sunrise, and then we're going to cross over the river and see if we can get to that impala carcass that was hoisted up into the tree yesterday. I don't know if everyone watched, but it was the one that Sean had with a Tamboti Tom, that big male leopard that was up in the tree. So let's go this morning and see if there's any signs of him up in that tree. I'm hoping, if he's not in the tree, he might be around. I don't even know, maybe he could have gone and drank some water. Now he's on his way back. Might even be there. Mike, you were asking a very good question. What animal is least hunted by the other animals? So I would say, I'll probably say elephants, hippos. Because, like, in the era that we mainly operate in, I've never seen a pride of lions go for something like an elephant. And especially if there's a lot of elephants together, they often chase it. But it is possible. I mean, in Savuti, in Botswana, I know there's a pride of 34 lions. It's called a mega pride, and they specialize in hunting elephants. However, here don't really, and with hippos, whenever there's a lot of danger, they probably just run into the water. And I think another animal that would be pretty safe is something like a crocodile. Unless they're small, of course, they can fall prey to possibly other crocodiles, maybe catfish. But when they're big, there's very few predators that will go for them. The only other danger to them then is possibly hippos, but normally there's a mutual relationship where they know, listen, we don't mind each other. I would rather say, instead of mutual relationship, more mutual understanding. For now, let's head across to Lauren with the duiker while we're on our way to go look out for that leopard.
We have a duiker here, I promise. It's been playing with us for about 5 minutes now. Let us just see if we can get another visual. Patience, patience. Sometimes if you just sit, they relax. Duikers for me are the hardest animal out here to put on camera. I don't have much luck with cuckoos either. I frame up cuckoos, or my cameraman frames them up, and I rarely get to talk about them. Come on, little duiker. Let's just see if we can. They're very skittish, of course, because they have to be. I'm not sure we are going to see this little duiker again. No luck, Davi. But what I can find you, everyone, is the sunrise. I can do that. It's just starting to peek over the horizon there. Okay, Davi, you tell me where we can get the best view of this glorious, glorious sunrise. Just here? Would you look at that? Hopefully it'll start to burn through all of this mist. I think you could say it's mist now and not fog. And it's starting to lift. The other day when I had Tingana, it just did not lift. This sort of foggy mist just hung in the air for so long, and we ended up getting quite wet. There's a lot of moisture in the air that day. It's not as bad as the other day. Let's just take a moment to appreciate this sunrise. Wasn't that magnificent? A tranquil moment. I think we all need more of these in our days. We should always stop to appreciate the sunrise or the sunset. Everyone says it's beautiful. Absolutely. Nicely done, Davi. You can hear the Franklins were going. You could hear a Chinspop Batas. You could hear a starling. Everybody's beginning to wake up because that ball of gas over there is now up high in the sky, and it's time for all the birds to wake up. Oh, talking of birds, it appears that Nikki has one of the most magnificent raptors for you.
So on our way to, when we arrived at the Impala carcass hoisted up in the tree, we could see in the distance there was a Bateleur eagle. Now, if you have a look at the colors, it's just so beautiful with the sunlight on his back. You'll see there's that rufous color like in the middle. It stretches from his head all the way to the, like almost the middle of the back. And then two white flanks on either side and a very prominent red around the face. A little bit of yellow and then that black tip at the end of the beak. Now this Bateleur was actually quite close to one of the other trees and he flew off and he landed there. But I just wanted to quickly focus on this impala that's just close to us up in the tree. Now if you notice, this is where the leopard was seen last night, so there's still part of the kill that's up in the tree here, and I wonder if that eagle hasn't seen this. So now he's just waiting, probably seeing if there's any predators in the area, and then probably later on he'll come in and pick off some of the scraps that might have stayed behind. We haven't seen the leopard yet, and I think he might be resting somewhere in the thick vegetation below here, so we'll give it a couple of minutes and hopefully he'll come up into the tree where we can see him. It is a beautiful part of the morning, so I'm hoping that it is early on, but we can spend a bit of time here and see if he comes. Let's quickly see if we can see that Bateleur again. There we go. See how he's just turned around now. So I don't know if any of our viewers know how to tell the difference between a male and a female. And for me, it's difficult when they're sitting down. I mean, it's really, really hard to do that. But if they're flying, it's a little bit easier. Now, how I would remember it, and what we'll do is maybe at some point in time, I'll show you on a picture that I have, but the easiest way that you could remember it, or this is how I remember it, is when they fly, there's quite a lot of white and black on the wings. So the top section is white, and then the lower part towards the trailing feathers is black. Now, if you think about a wedding, if you go to a wedding, a lady would wear a white dress and black shoes. So it means a lot of white with a little strip of black. But a guy would wear a tuxedo, so he'll have like just as much white as he would have black. So half of it is white and half of it is black. There's some more vultures coming in. Just trying to have a look. There's a hooded vulture that's just flying over us. But we'll wait, see if this Batelia might spread his wings. I'm carefully looking. If he spreads, it'd be easy to, I won't say it'd be easy, but we'll probably be able to see. We'll see then if it's a male or female. But while we are waiting, and we'll keep a good lookout in this area, let's head across to James with also beautiful sunrise.
Yes, yet another beautiful sunrise shot. Sorry about all the sunrise shots, but it just really is rather too beautiful not to be looking at and appreciating from lots of different angles. I was asked yesterday what it was about being a guide that I liked the most, and as I often say, it's the privilege of being able to watch the sun come up and go down every single day. Ooh. Shravant wondering what my favorite book on Africa is. I think my favorite book is a book called, interestingly enough, Africa, a biography of a continent by a brilliant, I think he's English, journalist / science writer called John Reader. It really is very dense, very nicely written, and extremely informative. And I've got another couple of others by a chap called Martin Meredith, who's a brilliant writer. He's just so engaging. A lot of them he's a history writer, and he writes about various aspects of Southern African history and African history in general. So if you're looking for good books on Africa, Martin Meredith or John Reader would be what I recommended. That dove agreeing with me profoundly. A brief whoop of a hyena off towards the south. And many of you agreeing that this is very relaxing. It certainly is. Trouble with being so relaxed at this time of the day is that one can almost lull back into sleep. Wake up at 10 o'clock. And then in the distance there's a nice rarish bird called the Steerling's wren warbler that's calling. All right, Owen, let's go and find some spectacular creatures. Are you ready?
Yes. Let's get out of here.
Here we go. Forward ho. We're sitting at Treehouse Dam, by the way. The world's most unproductive dam. Now, Lauren has managed to find you a bird, and the bird is in a tree, although it's normally on the ground.
I have found a bird in a tree. Isn't that fascinating? But it's normally on the ground, and that's why it's interesting to just stop and have a little look. Is this bird just enjoying being in the tree? Or is this particular Swainson's spurfowl upset? And you can see that red mask. Immediately, you know, it's a Swainson's spurfowl. Sometimes ground birds will fly up into a tree in alarm if there's a predator nearby. So that's why it's worth just stopping, listening, and having a look. I think this particular individual is just enjoying being in this marula, though. Do you see a predator? No, I really don't think you do. If you hear them calling an alarm, any sort of ground bird that you normally find on the ground, in a tree, alarm calling, then your best guess is that a predator has walked by and they've decided to fly into a tree for safety. Spurfowls are very closely linked to francolins. I can smell something awful here. It does smell like carnivorous scat. I wonder if a predator has been here. Fresh scat is not so delightful. I think we should bumble forward and see if we can catch up with anyone. I'm just going to bumble down this road just in case there is a predator somewhere, and that's why he's in the tree. And as I bumble along this road, we are going to send you across to Nikki, who has another bird of prey.
So as we were looking at the beautiful Batalia, we had a tawny eagle that just landed in the tree just in front of us. See how he's just turning around, like just warming up with the sun. But that eagle, I think, other than warming up with the sun, is actually here with quite a very specific purpose, and that purpose is to try and see if we can get to this impala carcass. We have moved further away from the carcass, especially if the birds want to have a little meal, but we're also keeping a good lookout to see if there's any signs of this leopard around. I don't know if anyone can hear that bird calling now. Just listen to it. All right, but we will come back now to these birds. Let's quickly head across to James with our hyena that is moving.
There's a young hyena coming along the road here, and this road has got hyena tracks all over it. Let me just move out of its way. It's a little bit nervous to come past us. And I suspect that they probably went to visit that rather stinky spot where the lions had their kill, not far from here. I suppose he's directly behind the tracker seat, is he? Is this one of Sotho or Tswana? This is one of the younger members of the Djuma clan. I am dreadful at identifying these animals. I'm dreadful at identifying even human beings. Should pop out behind this variable bush willow bush. Yeah. Barbara reckons it's Sotho. Thank you, Barb Russell. Let me just go back very slightly. There. He's going off through there. So that is Sotho. We're going to continue. I'm not going to try and follow her through that thick bush. There are lots and lots of hyena tracks going along here. So either something went down during the night, or they all just went to see if they could find a bit of muck where those lions killed the wildebeest. Hello, John T. Good morning to you. John T., hyenas can travel long distances at night. I don't know how well you understand distance at aged 4, but you probably understand time quite well. They'll travel for 6 hours sometimes looking for food. 6 hours, that's just about as long as you were asleep. In fact, that's how you should think of it. Hyenas will travel, you know, you go to bed pretty early, probably around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and then you get up at about 6 o'clock the next morning. That whole time that you've been asleep, the hyenas have been moving around looking for food. Unless they find something, in which case they won't move, they'll just eat their food. Does that make sense? So this little kill site is just down here, so let's have a look there. Samaya, aged 11, we recognize the hyenas, and I use the term we loosely, by their spots. So they've all got different kinds of spot patterns, and some people are really good at being able to identify the different spot patterns. I'm pretty useless at it, Samaya, I just can't remember them. But a lot of people are very good at remembering spot patterns. I'm just going to stick our heads over the border here and see if the rest of the clan are knocking around here. Their tracks are everywhere here. Yes, and Momo, you make a very good point. You say, I sound like I'm driving chitty, chitty, bang, bang. Well, I think I can comfortably tell you that the people who designed this Mahindra were not doing it with game drive in mind. I think what they were doing was designing a utility vehicle that could be used for hard work in rough conditions. I do not think that they gave any consideration to the fact that it might be used to broadcast live game drives, and therefore they were unconcerned by the fact that it sounds like a very sick tractor. That's where the kill was. There are hyena tracks all over the place, so they've obviously visited here during the night and then pressed on. The smell around here is really pretty disgusting, but that's to be expected where rotting flesh has not quite rotted into the ground. Owen, I can be here no longer. Let us head on. Oof. So we'll just do a little loop and around, and we'll now go back to Nikki, who's got a very patient towny eagle waiting to say hello to you again.
So we haven't seen anything as of yet. We've been carefully scanning the bushes, listening out for any rustling of the grass, or maybe even try and look out for that flick of the tail, because often with leopard they have that very prominent bit of white at the end of it. So if they do lay in the tall grass and they flick their tail, it's something that we could use in order to spot them. Haven't seen anything yet, so we'll still give it a couple more minutes and then probably carry on with the drive, see what else we can find, but then eventually come back again. I just wanted to have a look. I pointed out earlier there was a tawny eagle up at the top of the tree. Now eagles to me is quite a bit of a challenge, so therefore, like, I always love to just describe it a little bit to myself, and because you do that, it's easier to identify them. Now often, like from this angle, they could look like something like a Wahlberg's eagle. If you look on the top of the head, like a brown yellowish eye, and also like the color, it has like a tawny sandy color, especially around the head. And then if you look at the bill of it, you notice it's a bit of yellow and then some black at the end. And also the size, like, it is hard to judge from the angle that we're sitting at now, but it is a fairly big bird. And him and the butterleer in the area is a very good sign. I mean, hopefully with more and more of them coming, the leopard might feel that they are going to get to the carcass, so that might encourage them to come back even quicker. But you can see, like, even though he's sitting at the very top of the tree, So just the way he's sitting up in the trees, using it as a vantage point. You can see now and then he's looking left and right, but quite a few times looking down. So Nanavi, you were asking a very good question. What is the biggest and what would be the smallest scavengers that we will find in the area? So the biggest, I mean, if we look at predators, like animals such as lions could be scavengers. You often find the young males that are pushed out of a pride. They could scavenge from hyenas, from cheetah, from wild dogs. And then some of the smaller scavengers, we're probably looking at something like possibly a honey badger, and even something a bit smaller could be maybe even something like a mongoose. Like if you often see with them, if there's like little bits of meat or something that's around, they could just grab it and run off, but unlikely if there's a big predator around. But you often find them, especially, there could be like a mouse could also possibly be, like you can sometimes find, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. It's such a good question. I haven't really thought about it. Maybe possibilities of mice that could be scavengers as well, and there's quite a few small rodents around. It's a very good question. I think there's so many that it could possibly be, but I think the smallest is probably anything from a mice, and then all the way up to a lion. And then also, if you think about scavenging, like, because it could be for meat, but it could be for other resources, you can possibly think of something like maybe a termite or harvester ants. So going harvest something, or maybe collect material and then bring it to their nest. So I think in the environment, there's quite a few things. There might even be smaller scavengers that I'm not well aware of. I'd love to hear from the viewers what you think and some of the options that you have, if we put our minds together to try and think about them. Rosemary, I agree with you. Definitely jackal is a very good scavenger, and also small. Especially the black-backed jackal that we do find in the area. We haven't seen any here. I do know, I think if this carcass was probably more in an open area, we would have seen a bit more jackals, but because it's so dense, we'll probably more find hyenas that come to this carcass than anything else. Savannah, banded mongoose, a very good one. Definitely, like as well as the dwarf mongooses. Now I thought about another one as well. They can definitely scavenge also in the area. And the dwarf mongoose is quite a considerable amount smaller than the other ones, so well done. So for now, we are going to carry on with our drive, see if there's maybe other animals in the area, and then eventually we'll come back and see if there's any update on this leopard. But for now, let's head across to James, who's looking at tracks. Hopefully there's some good news there.
Well, this is just an interesting track. It's not an animal we're going to find unless luck shines on us more than it did even yesterday. Many people, when they come on safari, say, I would like to see an aardvark out here. They don't usually say it aardvark. They normally say aardvark or something like that. And they are around, and we have to try and explain that they're around, and often people stop believing us. But here is a very, very clear track of an aardvark. And what you can see is 3 claw marks. They're big sort of nails, and the 3 toes. Well, there's one. That's from the other foot, though. That's from the back foot. So they're basically 3 in the back and 3 in the front. There are 4 or 5 digits, I forget which exactly, but those 3 show very nicely, and this is very clear. This is a big aardvark that went wandering across the road sometime yesterday evening, and I suspect what he was doing, well, he must have been up here, but he must have found himself a termite mound, and he was fossicking around in this part of the world. So that is the track of the aardvark. And the only reason I pronounce it like that is because to say the word aardvark is massively satisfying. And I would suggest it for those of you who are sitting at home now to say to your families, aardvark, and see how collectively happy it makes you. Aardvark. It means earth pig. Sorry, I missed that question. My radio was down. I was concentrating so much on the aardvark. Philly, you say it sounds like a curse word. No, it isn't. It just means earth pig. Aardvark. You could just say antbeer. Antbeer. It just sounds better than aardvark, you know. Good. Lauren has now found an arachnid of which she is deeply fond. We'll continue down the road.
Arachnid. Yes, I have. Another golden orb web spider. Now, there's many different species, and they all belong to Nephilia. Nephilia are your orb web spiders. They're sometimes called weavers, believe it or not, because they weave such a fantastic 3D web. Look at it. Spanning meters across. They say on average 1 meter, which is 3 feet, but this one here is definitely spanning a greater distance than 1 meter. And of course, this is a female. You will always find her resting with her head facing downwards and her bottom facing upwards, if you like. That's her standard position. And the golden hues that you can actually see from the web, they act as like a household insurance policy, if you like. So she puts the pigment into the silk that she weaves into this beautiful 3D web, and she's essentially advertising its presence. There's some webs you can drive into and not see. Yes, that happens every day. It's not my favorite moment of the day. And she's advertising the presence of the web to much larger animals, such as birds, so that they don't damage it. You don't want a massive bird flying into your web, and all that hard work that you have completed in creating this fantastic 3D structure is, of course, damaged. So it's actually, she only got 7 legs. Or is one leg hiding? Sometimes it can move a leg, so no, I think she's actually missing a leg on her left side. She only has 7 legs. So to produce a web like that, she actually does it very, very fast, but it's really energetically expensive. Veta, you're loving the golden tint. I know, it's actually the best time to see these spiders. It's sunrise or sunset, because they are that stunning. And of course the sunlight reflects off the web and makes it even more golden, but it actually is golden. So because it's so energetically expensive to make this web, that's why she needs to protect it from animals such as birds that can fly into it. So she is advertising it. This is my web. Do not damage it. There's also some theories, but it's not been scientifically proven yet, that the UV properties of the silk itself attract some insects. So the insects are drawn to the UV properties of the web in the same way, essentially, that UV pathways will lead to nectar, to attract some insects to nectar. And that's why they're drawn to some flowers. But those theories are not 100% proven yet. They're very successful at catching insects. I don't think I've ever came across a web that really doesn't have any insects in it. Shannon, honestly, I'm not entirely sure why she sits in such a way that's upside down. The golden orb web spiders particularly are always facing this way. You will never really see them any other way. And I don't actually know the reason for it. I'm really not entirely sure, Shannon. They obviously don't have blood flowing in the same way that we do. But I don't know the reason why they sit upside down. I shall need to look that up for you. Yeah, she's definitely missing a leg. I think she's actually missing her very front leg. The last set of legs is intact. Then the third set, the second set. Yeah, she's missing her very, very front right leg. Sorry, it's not the left. The other left, the right. They can still survive with missing legs. Of course, if they were missing all of their legs, then they couldn't survive. But they can survive with a missing leg, or even 2 or 3. She's a small one. She's obviously much bigger than the males, but she's actually quite